Okay, fellas, welcome back to some more SBC gaming news, and this is now my second take. I'm re-recording this entire thing. Not to mention the countless times I had to redo the intro, because I try to do these in one take, and if I mess up, I do it again from the beginning. But yeah, the reason why I'm re-recording this is at the very beginning, I forgot to read a comment from somebody, and I really do appreciate it when you leave a comment. And I felt really bad about that, so I decided to take a nap and re-record the entire thing. And the reason why I recorded again is, if you record just me reading the comment and insert it in, it feels a little off, as well as the entire flow of the video feels a little different. So when I do a take, the video always ends up different. Another take and another feel for the video, so if that makes sense. But yeah, so I try to do these in one long take. Now, if I make a mistake, like I fumble over a word or something, I'll try to do just a cut there. And that's why sometimes there's going to be a random cut in the middle of nowhere. It's most likely because I either had like some sort of weird mouth noise I didn't want in the video, or I fumble my words too much to the point where it was very awkward. Sometimes there's just like points where I just stare off into space. So I cut those out. I also clean up the audio considerably. But anyways, this is my second take and hopefully it'll feel better. And another thing is I do make audio versions of this video podcast. It does take at least a couple of days. There's a link to my podcast feed in the description if you want the audio version. The audio version should be better in my opinion because I clean up the audio considerably more. So like for example, when I'm talking, sometimes I repeat the beginning of the sentence, once or twice, a few words. And when you're watching, it might not register with you that I did that, or it's just natural, right? But when you're listening to the audio only, it's a little bit more noticeable to me, so I cut those out. I'm kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of proud of myself with the way I cleaned up the audio for last episode. and as well as re-record some sections because it doesn't make sense if you just listen to the words without any visual cues, so I have to re-record it and consider the fact that people may not be able to see what I'm talking about. And that's why for some guides as well, when I make a video guide, I may read out the URL. I know that seems very redundant when I can just show it to you, but I'm doing that in the case there's someone visually impaired watching a guide or something. So if you are visually impaired, let me know if I can make any improvements to my video guides so I can help out people who have a hard time seeing things. But yeah, that's the main reason why I make an audio version, is to clean up the audio, the flow, the podcast, and make it a little bit better. It's hard to do that with video because then there'll be jump cuts everywhere, and it'll be unwatchable to me. At least if you're not a youngin with ADHD, I hate jump cuts. It's the laziest way to edit anything, and everyone does it. Anyways, the podcast feed will be linked in the description, and then when it's released, I have a link directly to the MP3, so you can just listen to it if you want. Alright, before we begin, this is the general format. Also, I'd like to thank everyone for dropping by and watching. I really do appreciate it. I usually read comments in the very beginning, and then I go into some posts in the very beginning. It might be memes or something useful, or a PSA, and then I go into new hardware. I go into buyer advice, bugs, fixes, and updates, user creations, and then occasionally a channel spotlight. And the reason why I like looking off into space and thinking is sometimes I mess up the order when I'm saying that. But anyways, timestamps will be provided in the comments and the description, so you can skip around to whatever you want to watch. Now, I understand the videos tend to be a little bit long, like an hour, so you don't have to watch the whole thing in one go, and you can just bookmark it at a certain timestamp and then return to it if you want to. Okay, now let's go through our comments and hopefully I don't miss anything. Alright, we got AC Royals or AC Royals 1985. Good stuff. Thank you. No, thank you for dropping by. Thank you for leaving a comment. It means a lot when people leave a comment like that. I appreciate it. We got at Hogtrick. I love these, very informative. Thank you very much for that as well. That's high praise. And so for last week's episode, I went over the physics and from the standpoint of electrical engineering, why these power delivery bricks are not safe for these Chinese handhelds. And the main misconception that I wanted to clear up was a lot of people were saying that these bricks provide a pool of power for the device to draw upon, and it'll only draw what it needs, and that is factually incorrect. The power bricks will, if they deliver a higher voltage, it'll induce a higher current, and the device usually can't handle the higher current. So current is directly proportional to voltage, so if voltage increases, current increases as well if the general overall resistance stays the same. Now we got JH on Lo-Fi. The Magic XU Mini looks very compelling, going a different route than with the RG38XXH with no analog sticks, and the MIUI 830 with only one. Rumored to be more powerful than both these devices too. So yeah, I'm very interested in the XU Mini. It's not that I want one for myself. I'm happy with just any handheld. The MIUI Mini Plus is more than good enough for me. TrimUI Smart Pro, any one of the devices I have, I'm actually pretty happy with any of them, because as long as I can play Game Boy Advance games, I'm good to go. But yeah, the reason why the XU Mini looks interesting is that I show some pictures, and I forgot to give credit in the video. I give credit in the podcast form though. I believe the image that the Redditor posted came from Retro Gaming with Dead Fred's community post, and I don't know where he got the image from, probably from Bilibili or another forum, but there's the credit there so you can kind of trace where the information came from. But yeah, the XU Mini looks a little bit larger than the 28XX and the 830, as well as a little bit more comfortable to hold. The buttons, unfortunately, look a little bit smaller, but there is more real estate because you have two analog sticks. And yeah, it's supposed to be more powerful theoretically, but we won't know until we get the device because it all depends on the software. If the software sucks, then we're gonna have to wait for someone to make it, pretty good. But yeah, highly looking forward to it. It's supposed to be $50 too, so we'll see when it actually comes out. And another side note, so if you keep track of that spreadsheet with the handhelds, they'll have the latest reported release date, and usually they link Discord. I really hate it when people link Discord because I will not use Discord, so anything where I have to make an account for, I don't like using, so I wish they would post a screenshot or something, but that's another story. If you want to know why I don't use Discord, let me know, and I'll make a video for it. But yeah, like, the release date is usually an estimate, and a very generous one at that. So typically they come out way later than when they say the release date is going to be. The same with the Miu Flip. It was supposed to come out, what, April? May? June? It's not out yet. So whenever people ask customer service, it's meaningless, alright? That date is meaningless. The joke is, they'll respond, oh, at the end of the month. That's when it's supposed to come out. And the joke is, which month? Which year even? But yeah, something to keep in mind. Alright, we got two comments here from Dual Wielding Dad. Onion OS walks so Garlic OS could run on the Anbernic. And then, sure, you don't have to make buying choices based on the seller's political views, but it makes it easier to spot a grifter or scammer. So yeah, I think I was talking about Onion OS hitting 100,000 downloads for version 4.3, which is awesome. And yeah, because of Onion, we have Garlic now. At least I think chronologically speaking, that's the right order. I don't know. Maybe Garlic came first. But either way, Garlic OS is awesome on the 35XX OG version. And I can't wait for Garlic OS 2.0 to reach feature parity with Garlic OS on these newer handhelds. And I think that will be the go-to OS for the Anbernic side. But yeah, for that timestamp, I'm probably talking about the mod Retro. And that was promoted by Palmer Luckey. And now, just to be clear, I don't hate the guy because I don't know him and I just don't care. It doesn't matter what some random dude online is saying. Like, I don't hate Elon. Like, I don't know these guys, alright? So it doesn't make sense. Life's too short for that. I'm not gonna spend my time like worrying about some random dude on the internet and what they're doing. But yeah, that he does bring up a good point. So for me, I don't know Palmer Luckey, but let's remove the fact that it's made by Palmer Luckey. And when I was watching the promo video, it rubbed me the wrong way because it felt like a snake oil salesman trying to get me to buy something that really didn't work. So yeah, so for me, it's all about show and not tell. So like show me what the device does. Like show it to me working. Just give me the, analytics when it's running games, give me the actual details, the specifications. And this guy spent all his time talking about like buzzwords, like, oh, the glass is watch quartz glass or whatever. And I'm like, okay, like I mean, is it any better than glass? Like, why don't you throw out some numbers? You know what I'm saying? You're just throwing out buzzwords. Like the magnesium aluminum body, it's like, okay, it's a metal body, so what? But yeah, like what I wanted to see was like, all right, let me see it actually running games. What is the compatibility rating for the FPGA implementation? Even Analog Pocket is not perfect. FPGA is still hardware emulation, and it's emulation, so it's never one-to-one with the original hardware. People might claim it is, but it's not. In fact, if you look at Analog's latest consoles, I forgot what it was it the PC Engine? It was terrible. It was terrible. So like, it was worse than emulating on software. But yeah. When I watched the video, what I was really interested in was the fact that I kept touting that the screen was a one-to-one replica of the original Game Boy Color screen. And so I was like, oh, let me hear some details. Like, they kept talking about like the color balance and the temperature. I'm like, I don't care about that. The one thing I'm interested in, the one thing that these modern screens can't do is the translucent effect of the pixels, and then not introducing extra latency. So if you don't know for the Game Boy Color how they made translucent pixels or the effect of translucency, I don't know if that's proper grammar, but what they did was they turned the pixel on and off very quickly, and because the screen was so slow to respond, it would look like it was semi-translucent. And so this is very visible. A lot of people use the example of Link's Awakening and the chain chomp in the house in the very beginning. That chain has that translucent effect. So modern screens, when you're emulating via software, it will blink on and off rapidly, and you can see it because the screen is fast enough to respond to that. So then how you fix that is you have to blend those frames together. I think they call it frame blending. There's like different technical terms for it, but essentially it's blending the frames together. And when you do that, it introduces extra latency. Now I'm sure there's other things that it does. I don't know enough about it to go in depth. Someone else will have to explain that. But the extra delay, probably not noticeable for most people, but if you want it to be quote-unquote pixel perfect, you want that delay gone. So I was very interested in seeing if that handheld had a very accurate display. If it doesn't, I'd rather go with the OLED mod. I'm just being honest, like bigger screen, higher resolution, OLED screen, it looks pretty nice. That's one thing I want to mod. But yeah, that's something something to think about. I guess that's a good point. Like that dude who with the big crypto scandal, Sam Bankman, whatever. If that dude was making a handheld, I'd be like, that's a scam, bro. If the dudes who made the Fire Festival were making a handheld, I'd be like, yeah, nothing personal. It's just that they're scamming people. So whatever they're making is probably a scam in some way. I don't know about this one. This one the Mod Retro just seems like it's overpriced. So I'll wait and see for the reviews. To me, it just seems like it's overpriced. And it's probably going to be a okay product. Like competent, but $200 is way too much for it. There are some old comments here that I wanted to go over. I felt really bad for not reading it on a video. Because again, I appreciate every comment. There's a lot on tutorial videos that I don't read because then that'd be too much. But we got Smart Stevie. Thank you so much. That booster or volume booster and screen brightness hotkeys just changed my life. Thank you very much for that kind comment. It was most likely for my Onion OS hotkeys video. We got Jurgenbergen 7290. I like your Mew mini content. Thank you. Thank you. If there's anything you want me to cover, let me know. I'll be more than happy to make a video just for that person. I don't care if it gets views. I'll make it. Sometimes I just run out of ideas. I'm like, what would people need a tutorial on? That's what I mostly make. But yeah, for a little snippet here into how I make content. I purposely decided to go out of my way to not make content that is not helpful. So other than this one segment, this one thing is the one thing I allow myself to make for myself, you know? So I know the SBC gaming news episodes don't really help people, but I enjoy making it. So this is the one thing that I make. But everything else I decided to give up. So like you know, video game previews, like just little snippets of gameplay, anything like any funny idea I had, anything creative, I'm not gonna make those. Just purely information that will provide value. And the goal isn't to get views, is to help as many people as possible, even if it's just one person. Because it's so easy when you make content to get kind of into this very unhealthy mindset of turning everything that happens in life into views. You'll know what I'm talking about if you start making it. Your brain will start to get wired like that. That's all you think about. It's the numbers, you know, the analytics. It's like, oh, something happened, and instead of being in the moment, you're like, oh, how can I capture this on film and turn it into a video, you know? So I'm forcing myself, prying myself away from doing that, even though I do enjoy making videos a lot. I want to make more highly produced videos too, but I'm going to drop all of that. Alright, we got CBR Gaming Glitch. Hey, thank you. Or maybe he's a pirate. No, thank you for leaving a comment. I appreciate it. Sorry for reading it so late on the video. We got It's Clay Toroki, gained a new subscriber. That is high praise. And I really mean this. If you subscribe to my channel, you don't have to watch every video I release, because it's either SBC Gaming News or a tutorial, and the tutorial might not apply to you. So, you know, if you're watching a guide that you don't need, it's gonna be, I don't know, super boring, I think. So, it means a lot to me, though. Thank you very much. We got Jack. Thank you for leaving a comment, Jack. I do appreciate your comments. Why don't smart people at RetroArch take notes from PSP's playbook? I remember my PSP days where I flipped the Wi-Fi switch on the PSP and start playing on Wi-Fi within 10 seconds. That's so smart. That's a great idea. And I think it's actually feasible for someone to do this. I think it'll be hard to do for certain handhelds, but that's a fantastic idea, because like netplay on RetroArch is a little bit hard for people who aren't used to RetroArch to kind of figure out. And you gotta start the host. You gotta make sure that, you know, for Gameboy Pokemon games, that you guys set the right setting for the GBA wireless adapter. And then, you know, you have to connect and have the IP address. So like having just a single button take care of everything for you would be fantastic. And I think someone smart out there can probably figure it out. It's not going to be me though. Alright, we got this comment from FitzAF. My guys done answered it. Trading Fire Red / Leaf Green Pokemon. Thanks a lot for your dedication to finding out the answers. Now me and my friend really can buy the Anbernics. Edit, so I saw that burning the image wipes the micro SD card. If, for example, I like to add PS1 games, would I have to do the same again? And then Jexy says, does this work for the Anbernic RG35XXH Plus? So there's a question for my Miyu video covering how to trade Pokemon wirelessly, and I use KantOS for that. And people were interested for the Anbernic handhelds. People really like Pokemon, especially the Game Boy Advance games, and surprisingly enough, they have friends they meet in real life to trade wirelessly. That's so foreign to me now in the present day. We used to do that way back for like the N64, the GameCube era. You would, even Super Nintendo with Street Fighter and stuff. But like playing, like actually in real life has kind of died down to the point where it kind of makes me sad. But yeah, anyways, you can do it. I told the dude you can use muOS, but now stock Anbernic firmware or the operating system for certain handhelds has RetroArch 1.18, so you can update stock OS if you don't want to use muOS, and then you just need RetroArch 1.18 or later. And then if you have RetroArch 1.18, you should have the corresponding GPSP core. So you have to use GPSP, and it has to be RetroArch 1.18 or later. And then you can trade Pokemon wirelessly. You do have to change one setting in RetroArch for the GBA link connectivity setting. That needs to be GBA wireless adapter. And then you just connect to NetPlay like normal, and then it should work. There's only one comment I saw where it didn't work, and that was connecting to an iPhone or a device with iOS. So I'm not sure if you need to do more there. but that was the only thing I saw that didn't work. You can connect to a PC, other handhelds, even a 3DS. So yeah, that's pretty neat. There's a lot of Pokefans out there. It surprised me. It took me aback. Like, there's so many questions about Pokemon. Also, good news. I want to cover some Pokemon themes for muOS. At the end, you can skip to it. I have links to both of them, so you can download it. The creators did a fantastic job. The themes look really good. Alright, we got Chris Varnado 900 or Vernado. Nice chill channel, just subbed. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. A lot of people say I'm chill. I'm gonna take their word for it. You know, I'm just dead inside. Sorry that took so long. I forgot to say this in the beginning, but we'll be focusing mostly on Anbernic handhelds for this episode. There's gonna be other news items as well, but it's a lot related to the Cube. There's analog stick fixes, which is really awesome. And then we have some user creations for the RG35XXH, and then themes for the RG35XX series. And so there's a lot to cover here, and the news segment would have been shorter, but I wanted to go over those comments, because once again, I really appreciate everyone who left a comment. Oh my god, I almost did it again. This is why, okay, so I skipped Jack's comment the first time through, because I wanted to read both of Dual Wielding Dad's comments, and then I forgot to go back. I almost did it again, my goodness. Sorry, Jack. I forgot to mention too, Dual Wielding Dad has a channel, and he makes pretty good content if you want to check him out. I really like the Linux videos, because I am personally interested in jumping ship from Linux, and I don't want to go to Windows 11. I hate what Microsoft is doing to Windows. It's getting more invasive, and they're not respecting your privacy, and they're treating you as a farm to make money off of you. So I'm going to switch to Linux when Windows 10 support dies. I'm thinking of Ubuntu. That's just, you know, everyone has Ubuntu. Not everyone, but there's a lot of support for it, so it'll be easier for me to transition. Or I'm thinking about the gaming-oriented ones like KantOS, Bazite. You know, I think he switched to Nobara. And he also has some videos on the Orange Pi, which I'm very interested in because I wanted to have a cheap computer that can run Linux, so I can help people that only have phones format or flash images to micro SD cards with a very affordable solution. And the Orange Pi 5 probably won't work, or the Orange Pi 3, that's cheaper, because you need to flash the operating system to MMC, and you need a phone or yeah, you need a computer for that. Now, flashing images with the phone is kind of unreliable. I tried so many apps and they don't work reliably. So if I can flash an image using a phone with one of the apps, maybe the Raspberry Pi app, there's like an app for burning Raspberry Pi images, maybe that will work with the Orange Pi. If it does, I really want to make a guide for phone users, because there's a large crowd where they only have phones. And so I feel bad whenever I make a guide that's PC oriented, and doing it on the phone is a little bit difficult because you have to have root access for a lot of the solutions for flashing or formatting. Anyways, you can check out Dual Wielding Dad, and thank you for always dropping by and leaving a comment. I really do appreciate it. I genuinely like your content. So going to Jack's comment. Sorry, Jack, I almost skipped over you a second time. I'm getting old, dude. I know I look kind of young, but I'm getting old. He wrote, I was like you once. I was once like you years ago who cares about the pixels. I'll go into the context, but realized, oh boy, was I wrong when I downloaded GBA Runner on my DSi to play Game Boy Advance games. And since DSi has pixels that you can count and see with your naked eye, I get how sucky unbalanced pixels were. You should try it, it will change your perspective. Going forward, since then, I choose integer scaling on all my devices, or at least be the main criteria for future purchases. Jack has a really good point. I heard horror stories of how bad Game Boy Advance games look on the DSi, and there's a reason why people recommend you buy a DSi XL if you want to play DS games, and then get a 3DS specifically for 3DS games, because since the DS has a different resolution than 3DS, and the pixels are so big, and it's not integer scaled, it's gonna look way off. So That's true. Good point. I didn't think about that. Maybe, I really do want a DSi XL for DS games, and I want a 3DS or a 3DS XL. I heard people like the regular 3DS better because the XL, the pixels are, again, very visible. So it just looks cleaner on the original, but I like bigger screens, dude. Just for the record though, I have a very high tolerance for the games looking off, so like playing Game Boy Advance and the Mii Mini Plus, I'm very happy with it. I don't have to have the pixels look perfect. I think it looks pretty okay on this. In fact, you can make it look very close to how it's supposed to look using changing the scaling methods, and then one player insert coins, filters, shaders, and overlays with other people contributing. I forgot their names, but there's, a few people who are very into shaders and overlays and all that stuff. And they do a fantastic job of making it look pretty accurate. And I still have the M17, and I play Game Boy Advance games stretched out, full screen, because that's the default stock emulators behavior. I beat Aria of Sorrow stretched full screen on this, so. But I think the DS will probably be a little bit too jarring. Like I'll look at it and be like, yeah, that's even too much for me, bro. But yeah, I do want to save up funds to buy a DS. In fact, one of my dreams is to go to Japan and just buy a bunch of old handhelds. Games, I don't really care about the games too much. I do want a few games, but I just want a Game Boy Color. I want a Game Boy Color with the OLED mod, a Game Boy Advance, a regular one, with a nice IPS screen. And then I want a PlayStation Vita. And I think I cover all my... Oh, DSi, XL, and 3DS. Those are my handhelds that I want. And obviously flash cartridges for those. And then a bunch of IKEA rechargeable batteries or Loops. And that's all I want for the future. So I'm thinking of myself getting old. I want to pick up a handheld, play a game. Those are pretty much all the handheld games that I need, Anyways, moving on. Okay, now before we begin, I usually have something funny or something informative. We'll start with a meme from that 90s guy in the SBC gaming subreddit. The post is titled, Upcoming Handhelds Got H700, RK3326, and RK35XXH be like, I'm tired, boss. I believe this is from the movie Green Mile, not to be confused with 8 Mile, which stars Eminem. Two totally different movies. But yeah, it's funny because it's true. There's a lot of Anbernic handhelds released using the H700. For example, the RG35XXH 2024 version, not to be confused with the RG35XXH OG, which has a different chipset. The Plus, the H, the SP, and now recently the RG40XX. That's a lot. And then for other companies like Powkiddy, etc., they're most likely using the 3326 or the 3566, depending on the budget. So these are for a little bit cheaper devices, and these are for like sort of what I consider to be mid-tier amongst the cheap devices. And so that's why, as a fan of retro handhelds, you do not have to worry about being up to date with new handhelds, because it takes a while for significant changes in the actual hardware to appear. Everyone's using the same chipsets. These were being used like, not even years ago. So the internals are mostly the same. So you just have to worry about, is the screen going to be different? And most devices will be either using a 16:9 screen or a 3.5-inch 4:3 aspect ratio panel 480p screen. So even the screens are mostly similar. And so what you want to look for are devices that go outside of that. Like the Cube is a very nice 1:1 aspect ratio screen device. That's why a lot of people like the RGB30, because it was different, And there's not a lot of different handles coming out. I gotta admit, the Sugar Cube, while I still think it's mostly pointless, it's unique, Alright, moving on, we have a very important PSA from Neto Saito in the Retroid subreddit. The post is titled, Looks Like They Got My Card Too. And so for the past few episodes, I did cover The fact that someone on Retroid got their privacy card hacked, they only used it at Retroid, which means the leak came from Retroid. And this is another person saying they got their car stolen, and this is very upsetting because they were using Apple Pay, but then now they can use online card numbers if the place doesn't accept Apple Pay. And then they noticed that some dude was buying hundreds of dollars worth of stuff at Macy's, and so they changed the number, right? But the thing is, apparently the card has ABU, which is a thing where if your card gets updated, the merchants can still charge your account using the old number. Now, this is a massive security risk. Why would they do this? I know it's more convenient, but hell no. So they changed the number, but then they were still charging more stuff with the card number, and so they had to cancel the entire account and start a new one. This sounds like a massive headache, so they have to do a chargeback. So be very careful if you bought anything on Retroid. I would either cancel that card or at least keep an eye on it every day to make sure that no one hacked it. This is kind of a huge ball that Retroid dropped and no one is talking about, because Retroid is kind of promoted as a site you can trust, but apparently it's not. So I don't know if it's, someone at Retroid, stealing the numbers, or it's a security flaw on your servers where someone can come in and hack it and steal the numbers. But yeah, you gotta be very careful where you shop. So this reminds me, I would always recommend using PayPal, or get a privacy card, but I read about the privacy card and it doesn't seem like an optimal solution because you do have to give them your information, and that makes me a little bit iffy because I want to remain anonymous as possible. And PayPal, unless you have like a business account, you have to, link a bank account and stuff, but PayPal is link a credit card number and then you can just remove it. But yeah, there's one thing that kind of made me do a double take. So there was a person saying that this person, Persona Horrible, was claiming that PayPal is just as vulnerable, and this made me confused. So if you guys know the answer, maybe you can leave a comment clarifying how this would work. But for PayPal to get hacked, they would have to have your account info. As far as I know, unless you have like a reoccurring charge on PayPal, which you can just discontinue, I don't know how they're going to charge money to your PayPal account without having your account credentials or your session token. So unless somebody hacked you, I don't understand how they can charge your PayPal account like that, Maybe, the website stole your info as you were logging into PayPal. Maybe that happened. But yeah, I can't think of a way other than, having your account credentials or your session token for them to use PayPal. If you know of a way, let me know so I can pin the comment and let people know that there's a security risk. But ZeroXL brings up a good point. You don't need to link your credit card or bank account to your PayPal account. So that's a very good point. So I think that's the safest way is to use PayPal, link your credit card when you're making purchases, and then remove the credit card from your PayPal account. And then that should be good. Now, if they find some way to charge that, I don't know, man. Maybe PayPal is more vulnerable than I thought. But yeah, for me, I've been using PayPal for years, and it hasn't done me any harm. No fraudulent charges on that. But yeah, something to consider. So yeah, for sure, if you're shopping on AliExpress, do not use your credit card number. And this is related to the Powkiddy V10. Powkiddy's website doesn't accept PayPal, and it made me a little bit sad because I know why people do this, but I saw other content creators rushing to post their affiliate link on the subreddits. But Powkiddy's website is not secure, so if you bought one recently, if you bought anything on Powkiddy's website, also keep an eye on your credit card. That's why I kind of feel hesitant like recommending people buy stuff from Powkiddy's website because it's not very secure. And if I ever did recommend it, I apologize. But yeah, you should be careful. I wouldn't use it. I would wait for it to go on AliExpress and then buy it. Okay, now we have this post from Nari in the SBC Gaming subreddit, and I referred to this in some previous episodes, but now I found it so I can show you guys. The post is titled, "If You Ever Wonder Where Your Handhelds Come From." Anbernic posted their Alibaba showcase video a few days ago. So, I think you have to do this to be verified by Alibaba or something. And we can take a look here. This is fascinating. Take a look. I like this. That guy was going ham. They look so dead inside. They're just listening to music. But everything is made by hand. That guy had a nice haircut there. Yeah, everything's made by hand, so you can see why there might be some problems with the handheld. There might be mistakes because they're doing hundreds of handhelds, I would imagine, and you might miss something on one of them. Now, there's a lady doing QC at the very end, or somewhere here, where, yeah, they check it out. This person should catch the problems. Like, I could understand you mistakenly putting in two B buttons or two A buttons, because you're just going fast, right? And you can't keep track of all of it. But this person should recognize the problems. I don't blame anyone else in the production pipeline for making a few mistakes. If they're making a lot, then obviously it's not the job for them. But yeah, this person, that's your one job, you know? You're the person making sure that everything is Gucci before it continues. That said, though, it does look very uncomfortable. They're sitting on these plastic benches, and let me see. Yeah, man, that's super uncomfortable to sit there all day. And yeah, I don't know if they made the video to make it look like it's way better than it actually is. I don't know if they actually have lab coats and stuff. But I can't imagine it being a fun job, and I can't imagine they're being paid well or taken care of. I hope they are. I hope they are, but you know, the cynical side of me realizes that not just in China, but all across the world, there's a lot of companies, even small ones, that don't value their employees. And it's very sad, but yeah. So I thought this was fascinating. If you want to watch the video, I recommend it. Obviously, there's some like ad speak, you know, in there, but you can get a glimpse into how Anbernic operates. Okay, now we're moving on to new hardware. This video is going to be a little bit long because of the comment section, so I apologize, but the actual news segment is a little bit shorter. Next week's episode should even be a little bit, maybe, it could be longer, but it should be shorter. We got this post from Ovaltini1 in the SBC gaming subreddit. The post is titled AYANEO Pocket Micro, and it's a preview video of the Micro, and the video comes from AYANEO's YouTube channel. And the main reason why I was interested in this device is the 3:2 aspect ratio 960x640 screen, which means Game Boy Advance should theoretically look super amazing, and it has the power to upscale GBA to that resolution. It's a Helio G99 if my memory is serving me correctly. But yeah, we can take a look here. A few snippets of the video. It looks very uncomfortable to play for a long time. I wish it was more ergonomic. And yeah, I actually like the button layout. Two analog sticks on the bottom, slightly inwards, D-pad button, and two shoulder buttons on each side, whereas the Pocket DMG only has one trigger on the back. So it's like weird where the more expensive device just has less ways to input. Or more reliable. I am aware that the Pocket DMG has a trackpad next to the single analog stick, but it doesn't look very comfortable to use. But yeah, I can tell from that grip right there, that is going to create strain on your hand. You probably want a grip of some sort, then it makes it less portable. But yeah, I'm very interested in how the screen looks. I just wish it was on a different device, you know? Okay, moving on to our next new handheld. This one's more of a PSA, but there is news about the TJD T80 on Indiegogo. That is the post title. It was posted by Lawrence Ubel in the SBC Gaming subreddit. And it links the Indiegogo page, and I would highly caution people from buying this because they released a handheld before, and they took a long time shipping it out. Support was terrible. The handheld ended up being not so good. So this one is most likely going to be even worse because if you read the specs, I believe this is a 4:3 aspect ratio 1080p screen. And for this chipset, it may struggle rendering games at that resolution. So it seems kind of weird to put in a chipset that might not be able to handle the resolution. We'll see though. I mean, it looks okay on paper, 8GB of RAM and 10,000 mAh battery. But yeah, I would not buy this device. I would wait until, if you're interested, I will wait until they're actually out and available and you're getting reliable reports of people receiving their units and that the units work well. Otherwise, don't even think about it, in my opinion. And if you go to their Indiegogo page, there were 8 backers and it reduced to 7. So yeah, just think about that, alright? Also, here's a comment from Solid Fail. I believe this is Retro Gaming with Dead Fred's Reddit account. I might be wrong, but I believe that's his Reddit account. And this guy said, no, this is a dumpster fire. They released a Windows handheld last November that did not ship for months. And when it finally did, it was terrible with no support. They still released this after having ignored so many customers and basically gave up on the TJD 101. So yeah, the one thing I'm looking for is, will they at least try to interface with customers? Now, these companies, most of them have a bad track record, but at the very least, they may try to at least send you some replacement parts if your handle has a problem. If your order has a problem, they may want you to ship it back for free and then give you a refund. So there's some sort of attempt at customer service. When there is absolutely no attempt, that is a clear sign to avoid the product, because that means that they don't care about you. And if they don't care about you, the product is not going to be good. The people that care about the consumer will try to make, at least an okay product. It might not be perfect, but at least they'll try, right? If they don't care about you at all, then why is a product ever going to be good? It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so we got a new controller now from Hori. If you are not familiar with Hori, they are I believe a Japanese company that used to make video game accessories for a long time. Specifically, Nintendo handhelds were popular over in the States. So back when I had a DS Lite, I believe I had a few Hori accessories and they were pretty good. So Hori, for the most part, is a solid company and they're making a Steam controller. And we can take a look at the website here. I like how when I translated it, the only thing that got translated was this title here. Alright, but we can look at this comment here from Maho Fox. I use my phone to translate the page, and the red text at the bottom says there's no vibration, trackpads, or headphone jack. So for me, I don't really need a headphone jack on my controller, but it is a nice addition if they have it. And the trackpad missing seems like it's a big deal, because the one identifying feature of the Steam Deck or the Steam controller was the fact that it had trackpads, and once you get used to it, people swear by them. So the fact that it's missing does make it a little bit less unique, but yeah, this is, I think, pretty cool, because a Japanese company is making an accessory for the Steam Deck. That should tell you how much Steam, pun intended, the Steam Deck is getting in other countries, so I think that's awesome. I took a drink there. I might have like a compilation of clips of me taking a sip at the very end. I try to cut those out. But yeah, usually people go with the 8-bit though controllers. You might have your own personal preference, like a PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. People have their preferences. This is another option if you want to check it out. A side note here. So I used to have the SNES style GameCube controllers by Hori, and I bought them for like, I don't know, $40 each when they were being clearanced out, and they ended up being $300. I had 2 of them sealed in the box, and they were worth $300 after. Oh man, I sold it for like, I don't know, $100 each, and I thought that was big. But anyways, I sold all of my gaming collection, and I do regret it, because I wish I never sold it. I wish I kept it. I don't want someone else's copy. I want my copy of the games that I had. I want my handhelds. And it's not because I want to sell them again at a higher price now, but I just miss having a piece of my childhood. And I gave it away too easily, Anyways, that's another story, but... Alright, now we're moving into the Powkiddy V10, and this was posted by Upbeat Serve 6096 in the SBC Gaming subreddit. The post is titled Powkiddy V10 officially announced, small vertical handheld with 480 by 320 display. So yeah, if you look at the Powkiddy website, I actually want one. I don't think it's going to be fantastic by any means, because it looks a little short. It looks like the 280V from Anbernic, and people love that handheld, but I want something more ergonomic, and Powkiddy may release a horizontal one. So if you want that screen, just wait a little bit and see if the horizontal version they're making has the same screen. But yeah, I love Game Boy Advance. You know, when I think back, I used to think like PS1 was my favorite because it had the most JRPGs, and that's where I first encountered JRPGs. Other than a few smatterings here and there in previous consoles, but yeah, that's where most of them lived, right? And then PS2 for the same reason. But now that I get older, I like Game Boy Advance because the games made for the handheld formats feel a little bit more bite-sized, you know? They don't really have a lot of sacrifices in terms of the quality, but they may be gimped by the hardware, so they have to have like creative solutions to how they want to, feature gameplay elements. So for me, Game Boy Advance is the perfect balance of having a game that is playable and still feels pretty good, you know? And it's quickly becoming my favorite console or go-to console to play. And that's why I would like a screen with a perfect 3:2 aspect ratio, uh, just for Game Boy Advance games. Now, again, I know I don't really care too much about the resolution, but, if I could have one handheld for one system, it would be for the Game Boy Advance. That's my personal favorite. Going back to what Jack said, I don't want to play Game Boy Advance games on the DSi. It's gonna look horrible. But yeah, once again, if you want to buy this, wait for it to come out on AliExpress because the website does not accept PayPal unless you're gonna get a privacy card. But I would just wait. Okay, now we're moving to Anbernic, and Anbernic keeps making this new handhelds, dude. Like, they just released the RG Cube, and then they announced another one. It's the Anbernic RG40XXH, and they post this from Malik Van Luzan in the SBC Gaming subreddit. The video is the preview video from Anbernic's channel, and we can take a look here. The biggest feature of this handheld is the fact that it has a 4-inch 4:3 aspect ratio screen. That's a big deal because a lot of the home consoles had a 4:3 aspect ratio because they ran on CRT TVs, and that was the aspect ratio for CRT TVs. The internal native resolution might have been different, like the Super Nintendo at 8:7. But yeah, so this is big because 3.5 inches can be a little bit tiny. So this is the de facto screen size, like the H. Almost everything runs a 3.5-inch 4:3 screen because they're readily available. And the main demographic for these handhelds are people aged 30 to 40-ish, at least on the subreddits. For the outside world, it can be any age because it's massively popular on TikTok, so kids are getting into these as well. And other countries, the game's gonna come out officially. So there's a massive scene where, you can just play it on computers, on devices like this. So they grew up, like, kids nowadays grew up playing devices like this in other countries. So, but that said, for the 30 to 40-year-olds, if you're getting a little bit older, your eyesight isn't what it used to be. So this is a little bit hard to see sometimes, and you're left wanting a bigger screen. So I think this will be nice for people who just want the image to be larger. In fact, I think this will replace the H as the go-to horizontal handheld that's affordable from Anbernic. The only reason you might want the H is that it's smaller and more easily pocketable, whereas this just seems like it's more comfortable. It's rounded on the edges. If you once again compare to this, it's rounded on the edges. It's a little bit bigger. It looks like the RG Cube, and the Cube is pretty comfortable to hold. So yeah, I think this will be great. In terms of performance, we already know there's so many handles out with the H700, and we have so many custom operating systems that are getting mature. muOS, Nully, MinUI, they all work pretty well on these handhelds. So out of the box, it may work okay. Stock OS is pretty okay too, but there's going to be a lot of custom OSs that we can use. And if you want more details, we can take a look at the colorways. There's going to be a blue, black, and retro gray one. And then we have stacked shoulder buttons, which also make it more comfortable. Again, less pocketable, but more comfortable. It's still going to be portable. It's just not going to be easily pocketable. It depends on how big your pockets are. Okay, now moving on. If you are thinking of getting it, but you wanted a more powerful chipset. I really like this post from Subject Lemon 4719. The post is titled, "As much as I like the idea of the new RG40XX, I know deep down a T810 version is coming." They meant T820, and this was posted in the SBC Gaming subreddit. You know what? I think that sounds very feasible. I didn't think about it until I saw this post, and yeah, I think that makes sense to me now. Before, I couldn't predict what they were going to make, you know? Like, the cube, I didn't expect that. And then after the cube, I was like, what's coming next? I didn't expect the 40XX. But now all these things are coming together, it makes sense because all they have to do is make a slightly different shell for the cube and then put a 4:3 aspect ratio screen that's 4 inches on it, or larger maybe, who knows. But yeah, the T820 is a nice chipset and they have other handhelds with it. So why not make a 4:3 aspect ratio screen? Now, the reason why I think hopefully it doesn't come out soon. They have too many consoles out. But I feel like that would cannibalize the sales of the cube because, you know, like if you're deciding between the 556 and the cube, they're different enough where if you were gonna buy the 556, you're not gonna go for the cube instead. You might, like I would. I prefer the cube. I think the cube is very nice. But if you want the widescreen, you're gonna go for the widescreen. If you want a square screen, you're gonna go for the square screen. You're not gonna be like, oh, I wanted the square screen, but now there's a version with a widescreen. Let me buy that instead. You might, but I think it's more likely that you're planning on buying a certain aspect ratio and you're gonna stick to that. But this is like close enough to a square screen where you're like, you know, you're just like, why buy a square screen when I want to buy or play games that are mostly 4:3, and instead of buying a cube, you go with the whatever version they name it. I can see that happening. So I don't know. Who knows though? Anbernic, they just release handhelds like every month, you know. There's a funny meme. I'll find it later for next week's episode where, you know, it's like you blink and you open your eyes and there's another handheld from Anbernic and someone made a very funny edit. Super long image of just all the handhelds Anbernic's been making. You close your eyes and you open it. It can be a new Anbernic handheld. Okay, now we're moving into buyer advice, and we got this post from Beyond Sadistic about the Pocket S joystick issue in the AYANEO subreddit. They're having issues with their joystick, but there's a potential fix. This was posted by Bass Derek or Bass Derek. I don't know if they like the fish or the guitar. But you can do the force update method, and that may potentially let you fix the problem. So once you do that, you can see what Beyond Sadistic wrote, and then they were able to calibrate, and then now the sticks work. So we got confirmation that an issue was fixed here, and we can fix this issue. So if you have the Pocket S and your joysticks aren't working, you can try the force update method. There's a YouTube video link in the comments below. Alright, now we're moving on to this post. I think I referred to it on last week's episode, but this is a question about the Pocket S hold or cancel. It was posted by Duke Combination 1547 in the AYANEO subreddit, and they're wondering if they should cancel their Pocket S pre-order. And I really like this post from 04. They were comparing it to the AYANEO Pocket Air, and they're saying that the Pocket Air has some features that may make it more attractive to people who want that sort of form factor. So the main benefits of the Pocket Air is that it's more ergonomic, more comfortable to hold. It has a nice OLED screen. It has a bigger battery. It has a pretty good cooling for it, so it's going to stay pretty cool, whereas the Pocket S will tend to get a little bit warm, and it may, you may see some thermal throttling there. And also it has a 3.5mm audio jack and a SIM card slot apparently. And it seems to be more solidly built and performs a little bit better. So yeah, you can read this post here. It has some pros and cons, but it seems like the Pocket Air is going to be the product for you. Also, the Pocket Air is going to be cheaper. On Anbernic's website, they still have the mid-tier version of the Pocket Air for roughly $400, which I believe will be cheaper than the Pocket S. So for something cheaper, you're going to get potentially more likable or usable device. But that depends on your personal preference. Obviously, there are people who have the Pocket S and they love the device. That's really what you want out of it. And if you're okay with any of the flaws, this post may change your mind if you want to read it. This is a very interesting post. This was posted by Malik von Luzon in the SBC Gaming subreddit. The post is titled, Tested to see which OS boots the fastest for the RG35XXH. Quick and dirty results, methodology in comments. So if we take a look here, we see that muOS Beans has the fastest boot time for the 35XXH. Now we see that the original 35XX running garlic had the fastest. Onion's pretty respectable as well. And Minuai comes close to that. So yeah, Batocera and Nully are booting pretty slowly. I believe this is because when you're loading all the cores and the GPU, it adds to the boot time. I believe that's the reason. Whereas if you don't load them, you can boot faster. Now I may be wrong because maybe muOS does that as well. But I remember reading a post where someone was saying that where, you know, it adds to the boot time if you enable the GPU and all that. But I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, Beans boosts the fastest. So if you want a very slim, very clean, very minimal OS, muOS is pretty solid and it boots the fastest. They recently released an update called Refried Beans. I like the naming convention. It's making me hungry now. I had a bean burrito for lunch. But yeah, it boots the fastest. So there's the methodology in the comments here if you want to see how it was prepared. And I really appreciate the work this person put into it because it is very time consuming if you don't have a lot of SD cards. So for me, when I make guides, I don't have a lot of extra SD cards. So I have to like reflash the original image to show what it's like, and then reflash the new image and then show what it's like. Because I have to go through the process beforehand to make sure everything works and write the script. I have to do it again on camera. So it's very time consuming because you're waiting to format the card or you're waiting to flash an image and you have to go through the installation procedure again. And to do that multiple times for different OSs, it takes a lot of time. So I recognize the effort and I really appreciate this because this is handy information because a lot of people ask, what is the quote-unquote best operating system for my handheld? And that really depends on what you're looking for. And if boot time is one of the criteria, then we have actual information here that we can check out. Okay, we're moving on to bugs, fixes, and updates. We have a very nice fix, and this is related to a problem that a lot of people have. This was posted by Otsudesuki-san. I had to do that name a couple times, which is why you're going to see a cut there. I used to take Japanese, you know? I had 4 years and I forgot everything. Anyways, this was posted in the Anbernic subreddit. The post is titled RG Cube Analog Stick Sensitivity Software Update. And generally the post is saying, the sticks suck. That's what a lot of people are saying. The sticks are terrible. And a lot of people were recommending you swap them out for the Hall Effect sticks. But really, it doesn't make it better because it's a software problem. And the reason why they suck is they will snap to the cardinal direction. So, you know, up, down, left, right, and then the directions in between. And that is like a D-pad. When you're trying to move the analog stick, instead of going where you want it to, it's going to snap to like left or up, you know, if you're trying to go somewhere in between that. And that's very frustrating and makes you feel terrible. And we have a fix for that. So this was posted by Crispy Bags in the Anbernic subreddit. The post is titled RG556 and RG Cube Analog Cardinal Snapping and Sensitivity Fix. So this is thanks to TheGammaSqueeze, and they managed to unlock the bootloader for these devices, which is very exciting news because we may potentially see very soon GammaOS on those devices. Now, I don't know how much time it takes to make GammaOS for these devices. I don't know if it's simply a matter of like porting it over. But I bet it takes a lot of work. But yeah, GammaOS is pretty much the preferred operating system for the Anbernic systems that can run it, like the 405V, because you see a massive performance increase once you install GammaOS. So if we can get GammaOS on the 556 and the Cube, we may also see potential improvements in performance on already nice hardware. So that's pretty exciting to think about. But yeah, there's the GitHub if you want to check it out. And we do have confirmation from this post here You can watch the video linked here. I think that's for the next as well. It was posted by that 90s guy in the SBC gaming subreddit. The GammaSqueeze GammaOS creator has just fixed the RG556 RG Cube's biggest issue: horrible joysticks with extreme cardinal snapping. So if we take a look here, you can see that there's still a little bit of snapping, but you can pretty much go where you want to. So this is a massive improvement. This is huge. If you want to see what it looked like before, you can see reviewers trying to control it, and they'll just create like a cross pattern instead of like a full circle and then filling in that circle. So yeah, massive improvement. If you have a 556 or cube and you don't like the joysticks, there's a fix here. Now, if you're a little bit hesitant about using it, you can just wait for GammaOS to come out. It'll come out whenever, you know, but it'll be pretty much a massive improvement over the stock experience. Alright, this post is related to the cube. This was posted by Xavier Universe in the Anbernic subreddit. We see that the cube has a official software update version 1.11. The fix was to the gyro, and we have confirmation below here from Ian Shen 23. They confirmed that it did fix the gyro issue. 3DS games with gyro support run really well now. So here's one thing though, if you're looking to update, you may get stuck at 99% like this person here, Guten Bourbon, and that was posted in the Anbernic subreddit. And there's a fix here where you just wait about 15 minutes and then it should go through. If it doesn't, just wait 10 more minutes, like 25 minutes, just to be safe. And what you want to do here is what Guten posted. So you press the back button, then you go back to settings, about this device, local software update, and then you will try to install the update again, but it will know immediately that it updated already and try to reboot. So after that, the update should install successfully. So the general gist is sometimes it gets stuck, you have to wait a long enough time, and after that time has passed, you can press back and reattempt the update, and then from there, it should confirm that the update is downloaded and you can reboot. So thank you very much for posting that, Guten. I really don't like it when people ask, you know, a question about a problem, and they're like, "Oh, I fixed it," and then just dip. They don't even post if they fixed it or not, because they only care about getting the fix, and then they don't care about anyone else. So that's a little bit of annoyance. This is a massive service to the public because a lot of people will be having this issue, and knowing the fix is valuable. It's very valuable to these people. This is related as well. So the early batches of the cube had severe light bleed, and you couldn't really fix it by loosening the screws. If you could, they would just tell you to do that. It was most likely the antenna or some sort of housing on the top shell. And Pocky goes over this where the housing was a little bit too long, so if you sand it down, it'll fix the light bleed. But if you contact Anbernic, if you don't want to do that, they will send you a front replacement screen. So if you have a console with light bleed and you know how to fix it, I would still recommend getting a front screen replacement if it's free or cheap, just so you have another screen on hand. But yeah, this is something interesting to note. It was posted by Verix in the SBC Gaming subreddit, and the post is titled, "Replacement screen for my RG Cube came in. Looks like they're now using smaller screws around the screen." And so yeah, the silver one was the original screw. It looks a lot larger, and now the screws are more tiny. But yeah, if you guys have a light bleed, especially after opening your console up and then closing it, especially like the Anbernic RG35XXH SP, it's caused by the screws being too tight. When it's too tight, it puts pressure on the screen, and then it'll cause the light to bleed. So the fix is to make sure that when you're screwing it in, you do it very gently, and then make sure you're checking to see if it has light bleed, and then screw it in, and then stop when you see a light bleed. So it's a little bit hard because the screws have to be screwed in evenly, because sometimes if you screw in one screw too hard, you may have to unscrew another screw too loose, and it may actually just fall out. So it takes a couple of minutes. I think I saw Joey's Retroid Handheld post a short info on how to do this for the SP on another post. I think that may be in a future episode, but yeah. Here we have a pretty interesting and very simple fix to the rattling triggers on the H. This was posted by Look Ash TL in the Anbernic subreddit. What did I say here? Posted by? At? Sometimes I lose track of what I'm saying. But yeah, the post is titled Anbernic RG35XXH Rattling Triggers Fix. And this is posted on his Instagram page. It's Lucas Berlinski or Look Ash. And the fix is to use a rubber O-ring. You have the dimensions here. I recommend checking out the video because it shows you how to tear down the device as well if you don't know how to do that. And essentially just put it on top here. So this may work for other devices. Obviously you want to get measurements of the trigger post. If they're on a singular post like this, you may be able to put a O-ring on top. Other people will usually put either a piece of tape or a small piece of foam in between the button and the trigger, but this looks like it's fairly close. You probably won't have a lot of space to work with there. So thank you for the solution. I know it bothers some people. For me, I don't really care too much, but especially if you're trying to play at night, you're next to someone who's sleeping, that noise may bother them. I ran out of barley tea, so I wanted to get some water there. When you're talking a lot, your throat dries out very easily, same with your mouth, so you have to constantly hydrate. But anyways, we got this very interesting user creation. Now we're moving into user creations. This was posted by Zero Cypher in the RG35XX subreddit, YouTube app for the RG35XX family. So someone made YouTube for the RG35XX series. Obviously, it won't work on the 2024 version because it doesn't have Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if you can attach a dongle. I don't know if it has OTG support. But anyways, this is very interesting. So if you want to check out YouTube, this is the GitHub page. And you can go download the app. I think I will cover it later. I think this is very interesting and may help some people out who want to watch YouTube on these devices. For me, I like it better when I can't do other things on my device other than just play the game. In fact, I like it better when you have less games on it because I just want to focus on one thing. When you can do everything on these devices, it gets a little bit distracting to me. So just being able to focus on one thing at a time is valuable. But at the same time, other people aren't looking for that. So they want as much value out of their device as possible. So I think this would be great. Might have some kids who want to watch YouTube videos. I don't know if you can lock, to YouTube Kids and stuff, but it may be a cheap alternative to a phone at that point. So, all right, moving on, we have what looks to be a very nice solution to protecting the RG35XX SP. This was posted by Taryn Stark in the SBC Gaming subreddit. The post is titled, "This RG35XX cover is super cool." I agree, it does look pretty cool. I think this is a very nice solution because I think the original SP has similar cases, and this will help protect your device without adding a lot of bulk. The main reason you may want to protect your device, these colorways are okay, but the silver one especially has paint on it, and the paint can scratch very easily. There was a previous post where someone was mentioning that. So you may want to put it in a case, but the case adds to the bulk, whereas this is a very nice solution and will keep it protected for the most part. It's linked to an eBay store in the comments. It's shipping from China, so probably gonna take a week or two or more for it to arrive. But yeah, I think this looks like a nice solution. There was another solution someone made where it's just like a sliding case, and that one may be a little bit less protective because if anything gets in there, like a grain of sand or a piece of dirt, when you are moving your console in and out, it's going to create scratches on it because of that little particle. It happens to anything. So if you have like a speck of, sand or a grain of sand on your glasses and you use a microfiber cloth to wipe it, it's going to scratch your glasses up. That one does look nice, but I think this is way nicer because you don't have to you don't have to have the hassle of removing the system. You just flip it open and use it normally. So I think this is nice. Alright, now we're moving into some really nice paint jobs. These are really fantastic and well done in my opinion, because I've seen some paint jobs and it's very hard to paint anything unless you're painting the insides of a translucent case, but this person I think has very nice talent here in terms of what they made. This was posted by Talicry or Tall I Cry. I don't know how to read it, sorry. In the Anbernic subreddit, the post is titled RG35XXH Vaporwave Edition. This looks really good. So what they did was they used Tamiya paint and clear coat on the buttons. And then they spray painted the inside of this and then put some water slide decals. And it looks so good. Like, I would want this colorway. So if you want to know how to do this, they go a little bit more into detail here. Apparently there's some like YouTube channel that painted RC cars. And so they use that as the template to paint this. It looks really good. We have another post from Talicry in the Anbernic subreddit. This one is titled RG35XXH EVA 01 edition. And yeah, this looks so good. Like, I'm really amazed at how it turned out, because I have seen other people attempt paint jobs that require painting the surface of the handheld, and they usually end up looking a little bit sloppy. I don't mean to put down their work, but when you look at it, you're like, it looks a little worse than what it used to. This looks way better. And so apparently this is blasted with spray paint and put clear coat on. And you know what? They make it sound so easy, but it is pretty difficult to paint these. So I would recommend, if you're gonna try to paint your own shell, obviously get a replacement shell first in case you mess it up. Also get a replacement screen. Sometimes people break the screens trying to remove it from the shell. And then I would recommend getting a translucent one and spray painting the inside as practice first. It's harder to get, you know, this even coating painting the outside, but it looks really good. I like the decals. It ended up looking very, very nice. Yeah, I'm kind of jealous. I wish I could do this, you know? It looks so good. Alright, now we're moving on to stock screens. This is for the stock OS, but obviously you can use it for other custom OSs as well. This was posted by Kaluno Gaming in the RG35XX subreddit. The post is titled RG35XXH Stock OS ETG screens, or Enter the Gungeon, the video game. And so what we have here, it looks very cute. I want this, but the problem is when you see the link below here, it doesn't work. It'll say deleted. But then this guy was saying that we'll publish it on plus.rg35xx.com. I went to the website and I couldn't find this loading screen. I really want it. It looks very cute. So maybe it'll show up on the website later, but for now I couldn't find it, or maybe I went to the wrong area on the website. But yeah, this looks very cute. It may show up on that site in the future, so if you want, you can go look for it. But for now, I couldn't find it. This is a overlay for the XXH. You can use it on any system. The SP has the overlay by default, but if you have another Anbernic console where you want this Game Boy Advance overlay, there's a lot of posts and guides going over it, but this was posted by Artcomb in the SBC Gaming subreddit. The post is titled Inspired by the 35XX SP overlay, the 35XXH overlay. And they have instructions and links in the comments below. I read through it, I just briefly overviewed it, but in the case that you use the overlay and the screen is not positioned properly, you just have to move it up a little bit. There's an offset, you have to do a vertical offset. And so if you follow the instructions and it doesn't look quite right, just look for a vertical offset factor and then just shift it up. I don't know it off the top of my head, but if you search Reddit, you should find a post for it. Now we're moving on to themes, and these look so good. This one I really like. I may download this for myself, but this was posted by Apollo Kami in the SBC Gaming subreddit. The post is titled KantOS, a theme for muOS inspired by the Kanto region of Pokemon. I can't believe it. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. But that's why the second take is better, you know, I can think of these jokes. I forgot to say some things in the very beginning, but that's okay, you know? It's never the same. But yeah, this looks so good. There are so many Pokemon fans once again, and this theme looks perfect. I saw it on an SP, and they had a very nice the OG Pokemon trio, Charmander, Squirtle, and Venus Bulbasaur on the front cover, and looks so good. Yeah, so the link is here. It's on the GitHub page. I would recommend checking it out if you like Pokemon. There's another Pokemon theme for muOS that's coming up very soon. So for the rest of these themes, they're made by one person, LMarcoMiranda, and this was posted in the SBC Gaming subreddit. And they have a link to their Patreon page with all the themes for free if you want to check it out. Well, maybe not all the themes for free, but all the ones that I saw posted were free. So this one's called Haze. This looks very clean. This one's called Dot Matrix. This also looks very clean. I like how clean all these themes look. This guy must be like a professional graphic designer or something, because, you know, if like an amateur tries to make it, it may look nice, but there's like some things that feel a little bit off in terms of it feeling like it's complete. And you can really put your thumb on it, and that's where the difference between the amateur and the professional is shown. They just know how to make it feel complete, you know, or whole, or primo. Here's a Ornata theme. I like how it's an image of banana. There's a banana there for some reason. And the last one, Mustard Decks. This looks pretty dope. I like this. Very simple. The Pokemon are animated, which is, I don't know, I think that's awesome. So I can't decide between KantOS and Mustard Decks. I might just have both and switch between them every once in a while. But yeah, this is fantastic stuff here. Okay, that's gonna be it. Thank you so much for dropping by and watching. I really do appreciate it. Ironically speaking, this second take went longer than my first take for some reason, even though I felt like I streamlined it more. I ended up going over an hour again. Apologies for that. It's mostly due to the comment section, because there's a lot of comments I wanted to go over and some inserts, but for next week, it should be a little bit shorter. It would have been shorter if I didn't have to go over the comments that I forgot to go over. I had a huge, you saw the image there. And I try to not to miss a single comment if I can, because I do appreciate every single one of them. But if you like watching these, I do have an audio version. So once again, the podcast feed should be linked in the description. And then the audio version, when it's done, will be released in the description as well. A direct link to the MP3. But I do put a lot more work into the audio version because I clean it up a lot more, and I have editor inserts to clarify or re-record entire sections, because if you're only using your words, things may not make sense if you don't have the visual cue, so I have to re-record it, taking that into consideration. Also, I gotta admit, I like the editing I do, you know? Sometimes something sounds messy and I clean it up quite a bit. Like I chop pieces here and there and then rearrange it, and it feels a little bit better to me, at least. Anyways, if you want to check it out, once again, it's going to be in the description. I may not put it in the comments because I don't think it's something people are looking for, and I don't want to feel like they're being spammed or anything, but it's available. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it, but we'll see. But yeah, before I keep rambling, for the first take, I had a long rant. I'm not going to do it for this episode. I try to, even though this is like my one video series where I make it for myself and I'm more free to express myself and do whatever I want, I do want to limit just going on rants, because I realize that it's just my opinion, and my opinion doesn't really matter. So I want to keep that out as much as possible. Maybe it's my ego, you know, maybe it's trying to sneak in there, but I just like talking, and sometimes it's better not to talk. Some life advice right there, fellas. There's a lot of moments where I regret saying something and I shouldn't have said anything, so I'm trying to hold that true for my videos as well. I'm trying to stick to the news with some commentary that may be useful to somebody, if I can base it on facts, you know. Anyways, that's gonna be it. Once again, thank you so much for dropping by and watching. I really do appreciate it. And as always, hope you guys are staying safe and sane out there, and catch you guys next time. Okay, you may see me drinking this beverage throughout the episode occasionally. I'm gonna try to cut it off camera, but it's not alcohol. This is barley tea, just to make it clear. It's very refreshing in warm weather. Yeah, I don't drink. Anyways,